which one are we doing? So I'd like you to do something for me now. I've got up here the following. I've got you to think through this, and at the end of it all, I want you to pair up with somebody at the table that you're at to share your findings, but, which ones did you predict? And actually, if you ask yourself this question, how did you know that one? How did you get that one right? So, Adam did know he had the searcher. Now, why was it that one he knew, not the others? Why was he aware of that? What is it about what he's doing now that makes him aware of that one? How accurate was your rank order? So you've got all three, but in the different order. And so the question I'm going to ask you is, or ask all of you really, is, but do you accept that the rank order of the map is actually more accurate than your rank order? And, which ones didn't you predict, and what is it that this actually reveals to you about yourself now? Can you see this? Can you see in your work activities this motivator being reflected in things you've done in the past? So look at those questions and then actually share it with a partner, somebody you work with and trust. But what have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about this exercise so far? And what are its implications for your management? In other words, I've given you a lot of stuff now. You've now got your own motivational map. Think about it. What is this telling you about what needs to happen for you as a manager when you go back to your branches? And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to think that through. Okay, 5 minutes, go. If anyone wants to talk to me, you can come up. How's it going on this table? Is this interesting? I like you, you're good. That's the correct answer. Oh, I do, a little bit. How about you, sir? Is it bang on?
Yeah. It's not what I wrote down now, but it was in a different environment.
Oh, good man. Okay, that's good. How's it going at this table, all right?
Yeah.
All sussed? Good to see you, Mick. Okay, folks, are we ready? Are we ready? Peace. I've just been around some tables, some fabulous discussions are happening, and I think some people have had some very insightful moments about themselves and about what's happening and what this means to them. I've had a great question actually from the table over there, the Widnes table, regarding the actual combination of motivators, which I'm going to address directly now. But before I do that, because it's such an important question and you should all hear my answer to it, but before I do that, does anyone want to just say something about something that they have learnt from this process so far? We've got a long way to go, but so far, has anyone got something really burning to say that we can share with everybody? Anybody? Don't all rush. Okay, then we'll leave that for now. So what is the question that's come up? The question that's come up is about the combination of these things. So I'm going to go now through 3 pages, and specifically in the map. I'm going to go through page 6, page 7, and page 13, because these are the 3 most important pages in the whole 15 pages. Okay, so it's all interesting, it's all good, but there are 3 pages which are really, really interesting and really significant. And this is one of them. The first of them is page 6, and you will see here a typical, this is an anonymized, a typical kind of profile. And you will see this combination of blues, greens, and reds. You will see these dotted lines here, 30 and 10. And you will see basically your profile with the numbers sort of down somewhere in the column. So what does this mean? Well, what the question I was asked was, well, somebody has got a green first and 2 green at the bottom, which is actually quite similar to this actually. Does this mean this person is relationship orientated? Well, not necessarily. What this really means is that if you were all blue, you'd be all into growth, you'd all be into meaning, you'd all be into mission. If you were all red, you'd all be into achievement, 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 achievement. Now, can you see, these can be strengths, but they can also be Achilles' heel. Because, for example, if you're all into self-development, the problem with that is, what about relationships? Where are the relationships in your life? Are you going too far? If you're all into achievement, then actually, what about work-life balance? If you're all into relationship, if all 3 green motivators are all at the top, are we getting too comfortable with all our friends and it's becoming a country club? So if you've got 3 of one colour at the top, that's a strength, it's a focus, but it's potentially the other side of the coin. It's like a coin. The head is kind of like, oh, there's the positive side of it, but the tail is, too much of this might be actually a problem for you later down the line. And if you've got one of each, then you're balanced. So the question then becomes, what about focus? So every kind of combination has got an application, and this is something we'll deal with in a lot more detail when we come to see you, as it were, on a one-to-one. But let me give you a couple more points. It's very interesting. So firstly, let's look at that line 30 and that line 10. If you've got a motivator or more than one above the 30, we call them spikes. So 24 out of, the maximum score is 40, the minimum score is 0. So if you've got a score that's like 30 plus, and 24 is the average for a number one motivator, average good, it's a good, strong motivator. You've got 34, this isn't just a motivator, this is a burning, burning desire. This is a passion for this particular thing that's driving the thing. So that's what we call a spike. You have a spike motivator that just must be met. Your manager cannot afford to ignore 34, 36, 38 out of 40. If you've got 40 out of 40, by the way, which has only happened about 10 times in over 20,000 maps, you're probably pathological. But that's a side issue, okay? So there you go. If you've got below 10, you've got an inverse spike. So what that means is you've got a motivator that's becoming an aversion. It's becoming the very thing you don't want. So imagine, for example, you've got expert and you've scored it 4 out of 40. You're not really interested in training. What a drag. Oh, you would actively avoid training because, in fact, it's the sort of thing, the last thing in the world you want. So can you see if you apply that? So it's not good or bad, it depends what your role is. So if you're in a job, for example, let's say you're in a sales job, which many of you are, and it's all about the sales figures, you could have a combination of motivators that work for you, and they could be up there. But equally, you could have lesser motivators, you could have motivators that are up there, but they could be the wrong motivators. You could have lesser motivators that actually work for you in sales. So, for example, the searcher, customer focus. The expert might work in sales because you need to know your product. The builder might work in sales because you actually want to be competitive and outsell other people. So you could have a whole range of these motivators, but they're no good to you if, in fact, you're not in the right role for it. So if you've got a routine job, maybe some of these motivators aren't so happy for you. You feel the stress of it, and vice versa. So does that make sense what I'm saying to you? So when you look at this and ask yourself this, have I got very, very low motivators? Have I got very, very high motivators? So what does that mean for me? How do I address this? How do I get this motivator more satisfied? What about the low one? What have I got to watch out for if that's really, really low? I'm a manager and I've got director and I've scored it 2 out of 40. Does that make sense? I don't actually want to manage people and resources. I need to, but I don't want to. So ask yourself that question when you look at it. And ask yourself the question, is there a dominant pattern with the colours? In this case, there's a dominant blue. So this person, in this particular example, really wants meaning, wants to know why they're doing what they're doing, needs plenty of scope for independence. Okay, so that's page 6. Page 7 and page 8 and page 9 are actually descriptions of the motivators in detail. And the first motivator, your top motivator, has an extra paragraph there with some extra information because it's more important than number 2 and number 3. But the most important thing on this page, which I want to share with you, which you've got to get and which the next exercise is really based upon, is this bit at the bottom. That bit at the bottom there is what we call the reward strategies. And there are 3 for each of your top 3. And this is really important because the whole of Motivational Maps is based upon not just making you more self-aware, giving you a tool to help you understand yourself. That's a good thing, but it's a feature. The benefit we're looking for is better performance, more motivation to impact your performance. How do we do that? We do it by feeding your motivators with reward strategies. Now, in the map itself, in this map, there are 9 reward strategies. In the team map for each branch, there are 11 more reward strategies. And when we actually do our training, we have a pack of over 150 ideas. And I call it a smorgasbord. It's not so, we wouldn't say to you, you need to do this, this, and this, because of course we don't know your conditions. What we would say to you would be, okay, you know your conditions, here's the profile of your team, here's your profile, do these ideas, any of them, work for you? And some of these ideas are big ideas, some of them are small ideas, some of them are expensive ideas, some of them are free ideas. They're all about ideas of things to do that might make a difference to that particular motivator. Does that make sense? So you have got 9 ideas in your current motivational map, and I'm going to get you in a minute to look at those in a bit more detail and work with them, because what I want you to walk away from this theatre with is actually an action plan for yourself regarding what you're going to do to motivate yourself. In the same way, if I said to you, you want to get healthy and do some exercise, I'm going to the gym twice a week, I'm going to join a yoga class, I'm going to go swimming. What are you going to do? If you do nothing, your motivation remains the same. If you do something and you have a plan for your motivational well-being, you will start increasing your motivation. And we've got the language. And by the way, you know, in 3 months' time, go and see Claire or Keely or somebody and say to them, look, I've just been working on my motivation. Can I do another map to see what my current score is? Don't try and second guess the test. Just do it again and see what's happened, what's changed. So